What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Void City Reviews. I am Dan, and with me as always is...
Toast.
Yep. What are we looking at today, Toast?
This is the McFarlane Death Metal Build a Darkfather wave. So we've got
The Robin King.
Death Metal, Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and the Darkfather himself.
The Darkfather, who in Germany would be called...
Darth Vader.
Okay, cool. So it's kind of like a crossover already. So I guess we will look at these guys.
Worlds are colliding.
Oh. George is not happy.
Nope.
Nope. Anyway, let's take a look at these guys. We'll look at all 5 of them in this extra jam-packed episode today. Let's jump right in.
So here they all are. And quickly, this wave is based on the Snyder and Capullo Death Metal miniseries, I guess.
Event series,
yeah.
What you call that, I think?
Limited event, which itself was a sequel to their Metal series.
Yes, indeed.
Let's take a look at this wave.
Let's take a look. So let's break it down one by one and take a look at each one of these figures up close. So here is Superman. Kind of pouty Superman. He's sad because he's super hardcore death metal.
Well, he's dying, isn't he?
Unknown.
I didn't rate it.
All I know is that I believe he is dying, or he's corrupted, might be a better word, by the anti-life equation, which is why he's turning 1/4 into Darkseid right there. He's got kind of the gray rock Darkseid arm with Superman blue brass knuckles.
Show that off.
With a nice little logo on there, sculpted on.
He has long hair. Maybe this is an indication of how long he was captured, because he's got long hair.
It is true, but no beard.
You got some schmutz here.
What is on his back?
Glue, I think.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez. But he is pretty hardcore. I mean, it's a very metal outfit. Look at the detail on those boots.
What's on the side here? Is it?
I believe that's the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh, it is.
It is the tiniest sculpt.
It's a profile. Yeah, there's his ear and there's the spikes. Wow. Why would he have...
That's crazy.
A Batman Who Laughs boot buckle. Wow, that's really cool. I don't know why he's got it, but it's pretty awesome.
So there's a lot of sculpt. There's no paint on the boots. He's got what looks like leather pants, chain belt wrapping as we discussed here, and then laser eyes.
Yes, he does have the red-eyed Superman look.
And a torn shirt. He's so metally ripped off his sleeves. There it is from the back. A little bit of, we think, glue.
Yeah, there looks like a little bit of glue on my figure here. I did scrape most of it off, but I will be cleaning it off later, probably with some rubbing alcohol, I imagine.
So I originally bought this figure just for the head to use in a custom, but once I got him out of the package, I liked him a lot.
I do as well.
The one thing that bugged me was the different skin tone between his face and neck. So
it is a lot easier to see under these lights that we have, but I do see it a lot now, especially up close like this. It is quite a different color from the whole rest of his body. Is slightly darker.
And that's just, I believe, because the whole torso is blue, so they painted the neck, but then the head is cast in a skin tone.
He does have the elbow difference again, too. His elbow's a different color.
Mm-hmm. It's still better than Hasbro. So he has fairly standard McFarlane articulation. We've got the double jointed knees, got the toe hinge, standard Todd hips, torso. The one thing that I was surprised by is this arm is a single jointed elbow. This one is the more standard double jointed, and this wrist is completely different. We haven't gotten to accessories yet, but I'll show this off in detail in a minute. And then the head is standard ball peg up in there.
How are his ankle movements based on how big his boots are? Is that another figure that loses a lot of mobility because of that?
So we can get decent tilt out of...
Okay, it doesn't look like it's as bad as some past figures we've looked at.
I think we can get...
They actually had a lot more upward tilt than I thought it would.
Down and up. So, yeah. I don't think the boot is getting in the way as much as it would appear.
Very nice, very nice.
And we should still be able to get him into decent stances, and even if he does have any trouble standing, all of the figures come with a stand.
They do come with the stand.
These, for me, immediately go into a Ziploc bag. You actually use them.
Yep, and they get given straight to me because I make a lot of custom figures, and they need extra stands.
Even without the stand, I mean, he stands perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I haven't had any trouble getting him to stand in whatever pose I put him into. So he also comes with 2 extra hands, and we can see here. I don't know what this is, like torture hand. I think he's in some pain there.
No, that's his guitar holding hand.
Is it?
Yeah, at least that's the one I'm gonna have him. I had him holding his guitar.
That makes sense. So we think this is his guitar holding hand. He doesn't come with a guitar, but it is on one of covers.
There is a very kind of, one of the main images of him is with a red and gold Flying V guitar. I just so happen to actually have a Flying V guitar from an old school McFarlane Kiss action figure, I do believe. That's going to get painted. It fits him perfectly, so him and Batman will get their guitars.
Very cool. What I was mentioning earlier is you can see the difference in the articulation scheme for the 2 wrists. This is Todd's more usual articulation. This I've never seen before.
It looks a lot more, like, just off the top of my head, like WWE figures.
So there's a pin, so you can still move the wrist around, and this acts as a swivel once this is plugged into the forearm, but you don't have the same range as this ball peg.
I think it might have been like a visual thing, possibly, why he did it that way.
So it's an unbroken dark side arm?
Yeah, just so it doesn't have that ball, kind of that wrist ball
Maybe.
like this guy has. Just so aesthetically it keeps the profile.
Maybe.
It looks nice, but it does lose some of the range.
These plug in just fine. There we go. There's a nice pop to it. Same shield logo there.
Very nice.
Yeah, this guy's ready to go. It's going to mess some people up.
Just needs his guitar, which means I got to paint it. Because how come Batman gets a guitar and Superman doesn't? That's not fair.
For the eventual re-release.
Toasty! Yeah, there he is with the guitar I'm going to have him holding. He does not come with that. Again, just remember that. Does not come with awesome guitar. I gave him that because he should have it.
It's a cool look.
I like it. I think it'll look nice on the shelf. It'll take away from the fact that his boots aren't painted.
True enough.
Superman, by the way, comes with the arms for the Darkfather figure.
Moving on to Wonder Woman.
Here she is.
This is one that I bought because I love the design.
I have been waiting for this one for a long time myself. It is probably my favorite Wonder Woman they have released so far.
I don't know why I think this is especially true for Wonder Woman, but I think she lends herself to costume variations. And really, I think all of the kind of superheroes in general can get away with variations on the classic theme, on the classic style. But for some reason, I'm especially in love with whenever crazy things happen with Wonder Woman. And I love this outfit. I mean, she's got skull shoulder pads,
which are awesome. Those are fantastic.
And this hair is amazing. Let me show off this hair.
Yeah, that fade to blue. I really like that. I love that in the book too.
Love it.
Nice cape, the boots, everything.
What I didn't like was the platform boots, and I was originally the plan was to swap those out with the golden armor feet, but once I got her out of the package, I didn't even look at the feet. I don't care. Like,
I don't mind them.
She's fantastic.
I mean, especially given the whole theme of the book, the whole death metal music type theme and the outfits, I'm sure. I mean, especially if you look at some of those acts in real life, you look at like Gwar or Kiss.
Kiss, yep.
And they're covered in platform boots and metal and spikes and skulls and things like that. So I think just aesthetically, that's probably part of where that ties in as far as those boots. But I think
it does make sense. I just didn't like it when I saw the pictures, and in even the comic art, I just wasn't a fan. But once I got the figure in hand, I'm like, nope, doesn't matter. Moving on.
She's awesome.
There is a ton, again, of sculpted detail. Got these rivets in here. Got paint.
She's got
I think appropriately placed.
The neck straps coming down. Those are sculpted on. They're not just painted.
And then a lot of detail here in the boots.
Ton of detail. That's part of why I like them so much.
Love it.
The cape is really nice also. Has that really nice McFarlane cloth texture that a lot of his capes tend to have.
Mm-hmm. And it's a nice sculpt too. It's not as crazy as some of the other capes. It's just clean. It's not tattered like the Bizarro. It's just really well done.
Really is. Sometimes McFarlane capes can end up like drawn McFarlane capes and just be a bunch of triangles. This one actually looks like a big old fabric cape. I really like it.
Slight swoosh to it.
Always nice to have. Makes it a little more dynamic.
So again, fairly standard McFarlane articulation. We've got the double jointed knees. We've got, let's take a look at her ankles real quick. I had trouble. Have you had trouble with her feet?
I haven't really messed with her feet. terribly.
This is your copy. On mine, I had very stiff ankles, a lot of difficulty getting her to move, and it seems
pretty stiff on there too.
Pretty stiff. I don't know what's causing that, and I had sort of planned to heat her up and maybe take the ankles apart, see if that helped. I haven't done that on my copy. You obviously haven't done that.
I have not yet, no.
But I did have some trouble getting the tilt to function.
I actually would probably leave them if they're that tight, just like that. Just because when they get loose, that's when you get a figure that doesn't stand up very well or hold poses very much.
So it did limit some of the dynamic posing I could get her into because her ankles weren't functioning, so I couldn't do a lot with her legs and then getting her feet to stay on the ground. However, like all of the DC figures, she does come with a stand.
Indeed.
Peg holes. She's fine. If you do have any trouble with the feet, you can always use the stand. The torso is one piece. So we were talking, it looks like...
It is one piece, but it's one of the squishy ones. So there are mechanics inside there, like some of the other thin characters have.
Was it Damien that had?
Damien's got the squishy innards, and Joker. There's some Joker figures that have it.
Means that she's not going to get pelvis rotation, waist rotation.
Correct.
And no ab crunch.
Not so much.
And so the torso's just going to stay straight.
Also mine, just pointing out, mine is a little bit twisty looking here. It can be fixed. I think it's just probably locked up inside or something like that. But it kind of gives her sort of a, kind of like her hips are thrown to the side sort of a look, which I kind of personally sort of like. It kind of added to the pose I had her in. Looked good to me.
Had some character.
But it also is something I'm sure shouldn't quite be like that. It should be a bit more symmetrical. It's not supposed to be like the Spawn Kickstarter figure and have a permanently swiveled torso.
Right.
Just pointing that out there to anyone who's noticing that in this video. Mine is like that. They are not all like that. I'm leaving mine like that, but it doesn't have to be like that.
So elsewhere, she's got the double jointed knees, which are pretty standard for Todd style hips and wrists. Double jointed elbows, which he doesn't always have, but is nice whenever he does. The hair does limit some of the head articulation.
That seems pretty standard for long hair figures, though.
Just big hair in general. But yes, she can't look up because the hair runs into the cape. She can look down a bit, but then moving side to side, the hair.
I just point out that face is awesome.
It is fantastic.
That's like, for me, that's the equivalent of the death metal Batman head. How that one's pretty much our favorite Batman head he's made so far.
Yes. I think this benefits from not trying to be an actress's face.
Yes, which is probably where most of them benefit from. Because, again, if your sculpt and paint combination aren't perfect, you might have some problems. So let's take a look at what she comes with.
So she comes with the Chainsaw of Truth.
Yes.
Again, very story specific.
It is. I don't know very much about it. I believe her lasso is incorporated in there somehow. I think that's it around the handle, which is where the truth aspect comes in.
It is, well, it's impressively sculpted. I thought it was slightly ridiculous, but it fits the story when this first showed up.
I mean, everything about death metal is how can we be more ridiculous than the last thing we did?
Yes.
But also awesome at the same time, but just really ridiculous if you think about it.
What can we make Capullo draw that he's going to like?
Oh, yes.
So that he still stays at DC?
Yeah.
I'll just let him do whatever he wants.
Monster Truck Batman.
So this looks fantastic. It is slightly warped from the packaging.
It is. It happens.
Mine was the same way. I think we're both going to heat it up and fix ours. But she holds it just fine as seen in the opening credits. And I'm trying to work around the camera. Otherwise, that would have gone in easier. But she holds it fine.
She does indeed. Wonder Woman comes with the cape and the head for the Darkfather figure. Here is Batman with his guitar. But yes, this is Batman. Let's take a look. Now, this figure has come out already. He originally launched by himself with a scythe, and that is the version that everyone paired with the death metal skeleton motorcycle. Basically the same figure. There's really nothing different about him from previous releases other than the accessory, and the paint on his face is maybe a little bit dirtier. around the beard chin area, it looks like.
It does look that way. I don't know if that's a individual figures will vary sort of thing.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Who knows? Basically, all the paint is the same. So you see all of his detail on his coat, which is very nice. The bat wings kind of on there. The little studded spikes on his shoulders. Scalloping at the bottom of the coat. Very nice.
The faux leather texture.
Yes. The texture on that is quite impressive. I like it a lot. Really ties it together with the arms of the figure, which are also supposed to be the coat. So they have that texture sculpted in there as well. The one place that it gets kind of broken up is where you can see the back of the figure through the coat, and his torso is the gray color. So you do kind of get some breakup there just in the back where the coat is separate and you can see the figure underneath where that's not black. I'm sure you could go in there if you really wanted and just throw some paint on his back if you want to cover it up, but
that's ordinarily the thing I would notice, and I didn't know it until now.
I didn't either. I never looked at his back before.
This guy's been standing on my desk next to my work laptop for a couple of months, and I always have him facing front. I've never, honestly, probably looked at his back before.
It's the first time I noticed that his knees, when you bend them, are gray underneath his knee pad there.
And even lighter gray than his thigh.
Yes.
Which I find weird.
Completely unpainted, just gray naked peg there. Very strange. That probably should have been a black peg, I think. There's no real reason it needed to be that color. But I've never noticed it before until I had him in this pose for the guitar. So it's not really a huge deal breaker for me. Other than that, I really like the sculpt. The boots look amazing. They've got the fins on the sides, little blades. Look really nice. He's got all this sculpting on these straps around his thighs. A bunch of spikes here. And there's a black wash on that too to kind of make those pop a little bit separate. That's kind of nice. Let's compare him to the original.
Quick side by side. No, it's almost exactly the same.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same. You see the face a little bit darker on the chin, but
it's intense lighting.
Yeah, it looks like they would be basically exactly the same, other than the accessory.
Yeah,
which is fine. This is one of the nicest Batmans. It's got, in our opinion, the best Batman head sculpt that he has done yet. Really like that one, and just the details in general on this figure are very nice. I like the chains and the skulls on his belt there. I like the stitching in the outfit. It's a really nice bat suit. I really dig this figure. I really like him. It's really cool. Let's take a look at his guitar. It's got this face up here towards the headstock. Who knows?
It could just be a metal guitar design.
It could be. It could just, yeah. I mean, it definitely ties in. Everything else had crazy faces and skulls and demons and spikes and all sorts of weird. It kind of looks like guts or skin or something organic there. I do kind of want to paint just the strings and the whammy bar and all that stuff here, and the bridge and all that stuff, the pickups, because all that stuff I feel like could be painted. I like that a lot.
It could be very sharp.
Maybe when I paint the guitar I have for Superman, I will fix this one up, because now they both can set up. And I just need some drums for Robin or something, right? Or a microphone.
Yeah.
Maybe Wonder Woman could be the drummer.
So they also come with the standard DC stand.
They do.
DC logo, slight embossing in there.
Which
foot peg.
is good for this guy. So as you saw earlier, he had him posed, kind of just holds the guitar in his hand, and you kind of just have to hope gravity holds it in place there. There is no guitar strap for him, unfortunately. I am probably going to go out and get a small piece of chain from a hobby store and just put it, you know, from down here, make a little hook here, and then one either on the back here or on the bottom there. Just make a small strap to put around there, make it a little more accurate to the comic, because he did have a little chain that was strapping it on there, and that will make it stay in his hands a lot better for the pose I want him to be in, especially once Superman has his guitar.
He also comes with the Darkfather leg pieces.
He does, those big old legs. Last but not least, for the set of 4 to get the Build-A-Figure pieces for the last 5th figure, this is the Robin King. He is a variation on, is this one also a Bruce Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is this the Bruce Wayne
that killed his parents?
That killed his parents. Awesome. Great. So very, very happy character this guy is.
I liked the character design in the comic, and I liked his story, even if It didn't make much sense to me, but I liked the character a lot. I really wanted a toy of him. Then I saw pictures and I'm like, it's not quite as good as I hoped. And I think a lot of that was the shoulder piece just looked bulky, and maybe the crown didn't have as, I don't know, it's bigger. It's comic art translated into plastic, right? So you're gonna have some drawbacks, and I wasn't impressed with the promotional pictures, so I did not pre-order him. However, as soon as I came into your house and I saw him in hand, I'm like, oh, that face is insane.
Yeah.
I gotta get this figure. So I've changed my mind now a second time, and I want the figure.
I'm very glad to have helped. He's another one for me too, where it's just a very good lesson in that a lot of those promotional pictures, even the ones that come from McFarlane Toys, I just don't know what they're thinking with some of those photos sometimes. They don't do the figure justice. They don't do the paint justice. They don't do the sculpt justice. They don't do even the articulation or the different poses you can put him in justice. If I see one more photo of a Batman figure doing that ridiculous ninja kick in the air with his legs all in a figure 4, every time I see that picture, it like no one's gonna put their figure like that. No one wants to see. I can make it look like a pose I would never put it in. I want to see it in poses that look nice and make it look nice. But this is another one of those figures that kind of really, it lends itself to that whole rule of wait till you see it in person before you make that judgment, because a lot of the photos just don't do justice to these figures.
So I think the face sculpt and paint are stellar. This is very sharp. Looks great. And we were talking off camera how the feathers around his shoulders are actually two-tone. They're green and purple.
That is something I did not know until I got the figure. I would not have known that from the photos. I never noticed it before.
You can see all of the sculpted feathers, all of the sculpted detail on there. We're getting a good look at the chainmail going around his head.
I really like the two-tone on that feathers, especially the lighting helps it, but I thought that was an illusion when I first saw it.
I'm really impressed with the chainmail and how it's
his shredder helmet,
like dry brushed in silver,
or like his Scott Snyder helmet. If you guys want to go back to the Big Papa Pump days,
he's otherwise a fairly black all over figure with detail there in the torso, and then the green gloves with the goblin sort of hands.
Yeah, kind of thorny almost. They kind of remind me a little bit of a poison ivy-ish type thing a little bit. I think just the plant-like look to them, but your goblin comparison probably makes a lot more sense, because I think that's kind of what they compared him to in the comic, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a play on words of goblin and Robin.
Groblins?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we've been talking about sculpt, and some of this is reused from the Damien figure, but we did notice that there are some additions as well. So you can see, obviously, that the head is completely different.
It is.
The torso is the same, though repainted.
Yes.
And this whole... The torso is all one piece, again, similar to Wonder Woman. The upper legs are the same. The boots are surprisingly different.
They are different. I did not notice that either. He's got the same knee pads. At least the sculpt of them is the same, basically. The same basic shape, but everything below that, they are different. Wow.
And I thought it might have been easy reuse, but he sculpted new boots, which impresses me.
I did too. I thought they were the same ones again. I hadn't really looked too closely at them. I thought he just took the ties off of them, the little red laces, and just had the same ones because the knee pads were the same. But they are completely different boots. I like it.
And then obviously the forearms and
cool.
Hands, completely different.
Crazy pointy-fingered spawn hands.
I think it's good reuse, getting a new figure.
It is, because with the different colors, it does look different enough with having the full black suit versus the red and yellow.
The different capes, so the shoulders, the head changes a lot.
No hood, no none of that. His cape goes all the way down.
It's another
nice texture. It's got that texture.
Cape. Yep.
Even his boots have a very nice leathery texture on them as well, if you can see that in there. His outfit has like the stitching on the sides there. I think the only thing with how well this is painted up here that's missing is I wish there was a bit of a wash on this crown of thorns or crown of twigs, whatever this is, just because it doesn't look dirty enough compared to everything else. The two-tone chainmail, the two-tone feathers. Oh, I guess it could be in that. So I should put some little M&Ms, little blue M&Ms, and then see. Robin does not come with any accessories, no weapons or anything for him. He just likes to stand around and kind of look like a creepy little court jester type dude. He also comes with these 2 extra hands. One is kind of a grabby hand and the other one is a fist.
He does have the stand that we've shown off for every other figure.
He does. Standard DC stand.
But in his box comes the torso.
Yep. So he gets this full torso bit for the Dark Father.
I think we're now ready to talk about him.
Let's talk about the Dark Father.
So the same texture on the suit and cape that we've been talking about elsewhere. So we've got this almost like basketball style texture here on the pants. It's up here. It's sort of the rocky arm that we saw in Superman earlier. Yep. And then the really nice cape.
Yeah, he's kind of got more of like a, I don't know, would that be like leather or something? Oh.
Yeah, sort of styled after leather.
And that blue really kind of makes that pop. I'm usually not a fan of blue Batmans, but considering this isn't technically the Batman, I'm fine with it.
It works well.
It does.
Better than I thought it would. Huge honking boots.
Yeah, he's gigantic. He is quite tall.
And then a fantastic head sculpt.
Yeah, I really like him.
He's got the sort of metal style rivets on him. He's got a huge logo, a lot of pouches, sizable pouches, and a nice black wash on them. So minimal paint, but it's used well.
Yeah.
And then a metal cod piece, which I find weird, but
considering it doesn't even cover what you would want to cover with a metal cod piece.
Giant gauntlets.
Yes, with some pretty hard spikes. These are not soft and squishy. So These are ones where if you're posing him, you're going to get poked and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and so I was moving the elbows earlier. He does have, again, getting stabbed.
Yep.
So single jointed elbows.
Just like the Superman figure.
And wear gloves or something because it takes some effort. And
you need cut gloves in order to...
You're going to get stabbed. The same double jointed knees that we've seen elsewhere. Sort of the Todd standard. Ankles, wrists,
probably some of the biggest ankle joints I've seen on him yet.
Toes. It's an impressive amount of toe range.
Yeah.
And the ankle of the boot is cut away so he can get...
He does have a decent
really good range.
Yeah. Wow.
And then tilt. This guy can stand in whatever pose you want. And as we showed off in the opening, he is taller than the rest.
Yeah, he's pretty massive. So, yeah, he's a pretty big guy because that Doomsday, the only one I've got bigger than Doomsday is the Merciless. And the other reason I didn't bring the Merciless down is because he's on the top shelf and he's already in a weird position to be able to fit on the top shelf, so we don't move him a lot. But Doomsday is also my beefiest figure. Yeah, that's a pretty big figure, pretty beefy. Looks really nice with the rest of the group.
Yeah, it's a set that goes well together. They are thematically similar.
Here is just a little bit of a comparison for Wonder Woman's here, just showing kind of the size of this Wonder Woman compared to the last one that came out. Just two of our favorite Wonder Woman figures next to each other, just for a little bit of a size comparison, just so you can see. Both are pretty tall, both have the big heels, so.
I think the Mohawk makes the Last Night on Earth Wonder Woman, her head looks small, but the hair on Death Metal
makes hers look big.
Yeah, it counteracts that.
Yeah.
I've had sort of a problem with the McFarlane figures in general with the heads appearing small, but I'm not having that problem with Death Metal, and I think it's because of the hair.
Yeah. That's the other thing you also have to take into account is what they're wearing, too. I think Mohawk Wonder Woman, it's the same as V with the Cyberpunk figures. She's got that big cape, big collar around there, but underneath that, it's basically just the female form with no armor, no clothing, nothing. So with no hair, it's basically just her little head. Same as V. He has that giant coat, giant collar, but underneath that is just a skinny male body painted black.
True enough.
And his head, he doesn't have any long hair, so his head looks super tiny. But I bet if we took that cape off her and all that stuff, it'd probably look a lot more. But it's blue hair. I love the blue hair, and I love the crown. Everything about that Wonder Woman is just awesome. That's like everything I've wanted in a Wonder Woman figure. Here's a little bit of a comparison for the Superman figures. This is the Death Metal Superman with his guitar, and he is next to a little bit of a custom one we have, but for the most part, it's basically like every other McFarlane Superman. This is my version of a New 52 Superman. 4 different figures went into the making of this guy, but this basically kind of gives you a good idea then of all the different Supermans and their scale versus this guy. Now, he is kind of hunched over here in this pose I've got him in, so he would be slightly taller than he looks right now, but roughly in scale, just about the same right around as most of the other Superman figures. Probably closer in beefiness to the Infected and the Bizarro figures. The Action Comics and Red Sun are a bit taller and thinner, but yeah.
That's been it for this episode as we took a look at the McFarlane Death Metal Build the Dark Father Wave. Slight difference of opinion between us about how we feel about them as a whole. If you have any comments, disagree, agree, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, get those notifications, and we'll see you next time.
Indeedy.